Welcome back, children of the night, to Blood and Syrup, a Vampire the Masquerade Lies Play podcast. I am your host, Count Vlad von Lestat, drinker of blood, keeper of the chronicle, and all-around a spooky dude. The Coterie have arrived at Elysium and found themselves at the center of attention. Ridley used his street smarts to find an armed robber to pump for information. Everett almost ate another vampire, which would have got him decapitated, and Iris discovered an unlikely ally who helped keep Everett undead before the prince drew all eyes to Iris and the Coterie. Abandon hope, all ye who listen here. Iris, you feel the eyes of every kindred in the room turn to look at you. As we said at the end of the last episode, you're used to being famous, but this is the first time you've been vampire famous. And that's an entirely different sort of experience and feeling. As you kind of quickly glance around the room, you see all manner of reactions to the prince calling you out specifically and calling out your coterie specifically. You see from some of the older kindred, who you can tell are older largely because of the weird archaic, say costumes for lack of a better term, they're wearing. You see looks of derision, some looks of envy, some just like completely unhidden loathing that an upstart would be given such attention. And of course, amidst all of this, you also see Azaria and her Coterie Noel just kind of giving you like little like quiet like nods of like, fuck yeah. But you can start, and again, knowing kind of social circles and how a lot of status play works. I think you're getting the sense that you can see a pretty clear division in this room between what could be considered the old guard and the sort of up-and-comers like the Tyrell Coterie. The up-and-comers seem pretty excited that someone like them is getting the shout-out. Some of the more established kindred who have likely been sort of scratching at the ceiling, trying to get up in higher into the Camarilla are clearly envious. But most importantly of all, you see the eyes of the Marquis de Montcalm kind of boring into you as the man waits for your response. So you have two options here, Miles, and you can pick which approach you want to take. You can either respond directly to the prince, or you can attempt to kind of try and win the room over in some way, shape, or form. Or you can try and do both at the same time. It's kind of up to you. Either way, we're going to get those sweet, sweet dice involved. So what would you like to do?
I would probably try to do both in terms of like addressing the prince in a way that would win everyone over to me. Okay.
So I think this is probably going to be etiquette and either charisma or composure. Unless you want to make a case for using a different skill set, but that's what my assumption would be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Also, it's been, dear listeners, it's been a hot second since we played this system, so get ready for some like, wait, what the fuck? How does this work again? So it's been like, I think we last played last year, so.
It was December 9th. It is now January 17th.
Shaved twice.
No. Tyler has a long beard. That's the joke for the audio listeners.
Well, I think just saying I've shaved twice means that time has passed as well.
That's what Battlestar Galactica taught me.
4 successes.
4 successes. Okay, yeah, you are successful in your attempt. You can either roleplay it, Miles, or you can describe how you think you go about that. But either way, I'd like to hear what your concluding statement is as Iris. But feel free to approach it either way.
Honey, I'm so sorry. I forget what he had said to me that I'm totally responding to.
The prince had asked you if you specifically, in what he called the Dun Coterie, how far you are willing to go to gain control of the west end of Montreal. The prince has just declared that the age of the Sabbat in Montreal is over, which has been pretty much the lay of the land since Montreal was founded. That the Camarilla is here and that Montreal is open for business. So part of this Elysium is to carve up Montreal into new territories as it falls under the sway of the Camarilla. Now, it is important to note, Montreal is currently exploding outside. So it's not like, this is an easy transfer. This is very much we're here to kind of create a new kingdom. But B, he has the authority to grant this under sort of Camarilla law, but the Camarilla is still trying to establish itself here. So there's that weird kind of like, this tends to happen in war, but it was also a big thing when Alexander died and all of his generals were like, okay, cool. What do we do? Who gets what? How do we not make this turn into eternal war? Which it did. So
you're being named sheriff of that town with no law.
Yeah, pretty much. But like all the towns have no law. So it's kind of like, congratulations. If you can hold it, it's yours. So he has, and this is, in his speech, he alluded to the fact that like, obviously the city is under siege from the Inquisition right now. There are a lot of opposing factors, but he's also kind of thrown down the gauntlet to a room full of power-hungry autocrats who want this, but he singled you out first. So the ask is pretty easy, and I think also to some extent kind of something you can't really say no to. The question is just how you, like what spin you put on the response. If it was Ridley, it would just kind of be like, I'm going to fuck up whoever. I'll kill my way to the top. But Iris is obviously a very different person. And because of your own fame and the way you've been hyped to this crowd by people like Baron Magellan and by Azaria, you've been identified as a leader of this coterie. Also, because I think they'd have a real hard time believing Ridley Beef is the head of a coterie only because they're a bunch of like weird snobby assholes. And Everett has been sneaking around thinking about who to kill, so he's definitely not on.
I have someone's arm in my mouth.
Everett's not even in charge of his own feelings right now, so he's not ready for anything else.
No, his successee was quite messy. Sorry, I should have clarified that. With that in mind, Miles, how do you respond?
I think I'll just describe kind of the type of speech I'd make.
Sure.
I'm not really eloquent enough to actually make it.
Totally fair.
But having been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'd probably take like a Socratic way of talking it, where it's like saying a lot and asking a lot of questions, but not really making a choice. But in the end, kind of making the decision of the idea of unity and coming together and showing power against those who want to destroy us and making it like us, a collective, and kind of trying to quell factions.
Okay, I like that. So based on the amount of successes you rolled, I think the way that plays out is some of the older vamps who were giving you the side eye relax a little bit, because in your version of this, you're actually making room for them, which isn't something a lot of kind of like upwardly mobile kindred tend to do. It's usually like, it's about me. It's Kanye West giving Kim Kardashian a hologram of her dead father and then just having that hologram talk about Kanye West. You, on the other hand, have opened it up and have made them part of it, but also have, I think, by re-evoking the Sabbat and re-evoking the Inquisition, you've kind of, I think, set an interesting tone, which is like, yeah, we're going to take the West End, but we're all going to have to take Montreal. So there's still some people who hate you, make no mistake. But you've quelled some fears, I think particularly with the older vamps, that you're just another like fucking young gun, low generation upstart who's just here to like wreck things for the proper people. Also, the Socratic Method thing sits pretty well with them because they're like, oh, at least she can speak the proper language. So there's some heads nodding and generally some good reactions. Everett and Ridley, you of course hear this speech. How do you react to it?
Ridley wouldn't, for lack of a better term, want to like mess with Iris's like flow kind of thing. Like Iris has proven time and again to be
Do you
extremely
mean
capable.
Everett?
Do you mean Everett?
What did I say?
You said
Ridley.
Ridley. So I just wanted to check where I was like, are
We're doing
we
this
debating
again,
what
man.
I'm doing?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
Yep.
it's a
Everett.
Freaky Friday scenario. I need you to do each other's voices for the rest of the session.
Darn.
And keep in mind, sorry, when I'm asking for reactions, it's not necessarily like joining in. It could literally just be kind of like, what's your mental state? How does this speech strike you?
Did I fuck up? Do you hate me now?
Yeah, are you planning to kill Iris next session? All these things are kind of what I'm asking. But that makes sense. Everett for Everett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ridley wouldn't be crazy about the name, but at the same time, they're already getting offered something big. So, like, let's not fuck with that. He can establish that they're like a trio of more equals than as Iris' assistant. At the same time, I think there's a part of his brain that's like, well, I don't want to fucking do these parties anyways. Everyone talks like a cunt. So there's a bonus to not being the person who has to go talk to this asshole, and there's something in that. So
100%. And I mean, honestly, I think it's the dynamic that you and Iris have set up anyway, which is like, if it's a fancy fucker event, Iris does the talking. If it's like a bunch of scumbags, you do the talking. And I don't know, if you need to kidnap a baby, you send Everett, because that's what he's best at.
Yeah, Everett will ruin it and refuse to tell us how.
Yeah, great. This all tracks. So there's some general muttering. The prince kind of gives you a slight tilt of his head, and then proceeds to address some of the other coteries and kind of some of the other issues. He does. It is worth noting, this is kind of a audience chat. He will actually be speaking to the various coteries inside the theater proper. But this is just kind of his way of addressing the troops, particularly given all the chaos outside. There's some other big talking. You notice that some of the other people who are giving speeches or are kind of responding are doing it with much more kind of naked ambition. Most notably, there is a woman by the name of Fleur-de-Lis Tempestra, who is she's got like a Tessa Thompson vibe, very confident, and kind of almost like she carries herself like a UFC fighter. Like she's just kind of got the kind of person who walks with sort of a certain physical confidence that denotes kind of a good deal of strength. She and her coterie are very eager to get involved, and her speech basically takes the opposite tact to yours, where yours was very much, it's an us situation. For her, it was like, my coterie and I will solve this problem. Like it's still a we speech, but it's like me and my buds, not the rest of you. And Iris, you are somewhat relieved to see that the vamps react to that. The old vamps react to that about as poorly as they were set up to react to yours. So the young vamps are pretty excited because she's showing like good vision, but she definitely has pissed off the older generation a bit. And with kind of the speeches concluded, the Ryan LaPlante, the sheriff, kind of signals for everyone to quiet down a little bit, and shows the Marquis de Montcalm kind of into the theater proper, where he will start to receive audiences. Meanwhile, Everett, you have finished slaking your thirst from Sorka, who just kind of like pats you, kind of like in a sympathetic but also kind of distant way on your shoulder, and then just kind of reaches into one of her pockets, pulls out a sort of a silk scarf and just wraps it around the wound, which is already starting to heal up. And she looks at you with, now that you're kind of less like blood frenzied, she has I don't know if you've, this was certainly true of my grandmother, and I think it's true of a lot of people who've had laser eye surgery or anything that or like, I forget what the condition is, but where they basically like correct your lenses like deep inside your eye. Their eyes almost shimmer. in like a weird, deep way that is a little unsettling because it's something actually within the eye itself. And her eyes seem to do that. It's almost like having double vision as you look at her, or like she has a second eye kind of layered in front. It creates a weird, vaguely dissynchronous effect that you find a little unnerving. But she also just really saved your bacon, and she just says, "So is that a little bit better for you?"
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I don't think I can look her in the. I think immediately after my regular faculties return to me, I think the shame kicks in of losing it a bit and giving into the hunger. So I don't know. Like, I think I see that glimmer and then I cannot meet her eye. And I think I need to excuse myself. I'm like, pardon me, excuse me. And then
Gotcha.
I like leave.
All right. Fair enough. She just seems to nod, and you can hear her muttering to herself as you leave. She seems to be having a pretty involved conversation, which is not. You notice that, and I think Everett, for you, this is a bit. It's something you notice, but you notice that no one around her seems to care. Largely, you hear a couple people muttering like, "Oh, typical Malkavians." Which is a clan you've heard of just sort of in passing. You were briefed on it back in the day. But it is fairly typical behavior for Malkavians to be speaking to themselves or to lamps or to other things. So it's an accepted eccentricity of that particular bloodline. So you did kind of disappear back into the crowd. What's kind of going through your head? You realize now that the sort of cloud of messy, successive blood frenzy is off, that one of the two victims you rolled on the Great Wheel of Victims was in fact sort of, for lack of a better term, glamored, which I know isn't really a thing in this, but you know what I mean, human. The nurse who is going around tending to wounded kindred. That must sit pretty ill with you, I think. And now that the frenzy's off, realizing that line was blurred must be a little tough. What's going through Everett's head?
I mean, there's a degree of hypocrisy in that like we have a whole gang of bear boys who are human that like work for Ridley. I think.
Sorry, I more so meant that you almost ate one, which isn't something that you're.
Yeah, you haven't eaten a bear boy.
Yeah, that it was even.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. But that you've kind of seen I think you've traditionally always seen a pretty clear line, and the fact that line didn't exist is alarming.
Yeah, I think that kind of flies in the face of what I thought I knew about myself, in terms of what this new hunger meant. I guess at a certain point, blood is blood.
All right. Fair enough. I'm going to ask you to take one stain, please.
Okay.
As your new views on humanity begin to kind of alter the way you think and operate. Ridley, you've just heard a bunch of speeches, and you're still pretty toasty. I will say there is likely blood that you could stomach if you have hunger. I don't know if you do. As we mentioned last time, there's like the blood is flowing tonight. Like they stocked well. The catch is that yours isn't humor based. You're not asking for a specific humor of blood. You're asking for a specific type of person it came from. So if you do want,
I think I'm not hungry because I ate a bunch of dudes when we were fighting the Inquisition.
Okay, great. So that solves for that. What do you think you would do in the kind of last beat of downtime before being summoned to the Prince? You've heard a bunch of speeches. You've kind of seen some things. What's Ridley's take?
I think he'd probably just approach the others, like at this point, because he's kind of been flying solo amongst the crowd and kind of find them at the side of the room, be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but we're getting the whole West. That's fucking tight. Do they have some sort of fucking magician who can make me not this? And he just points at his like Cronenbergian burn monster of a self.
I think he's asking the two of you, not me. I'm not here.
Yeah, no, why's everyone so fucking quiet? There's something weird happened over here. Everett, you look less pale.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if there's anyone here that can really help you with that situation. Doesn't that take time? Don't you have to kind of sleep on that?
I don't know. That's why I was hoping there was some kind of fucking magician. You know, I just want somebody to go oogity boogity. If fucking I'm fine.
I mean, there's a nurse over there. She's been giving people blood and helping them with injuries, but
fucking useless. You know, we got to look after the most injured people. I'm fucking fine compared to those idiots.
Well, I mean, we just got offered a pretty large piece of territory from the prince, right? Maybe that boosts you up in her estimation.
It's not a bad fucking idea. Oi, you got fucking healing magic?
So there are two nurses floating around. One is a dude in scrubs and an outdoor jacket who is kind of wandering around, vaguely glassy-eyed. And then there's a female nurse who is definitely kindred, who turns around and says, "Fucking healing magic? What are you talking about?"
Well, if you look at me, I'm fucked. And if I had to estimate, it'll take me fucking at least, I don't know, 14 days, 16 days to fucking heal this up. And that's if I go out and fucking eat. And I look like a fucking bonfire. So, like, what the fuck do I do? You got magic that'll fix it?
I got some Band-Aids.
Ah, fuck it. No, she's useless. I can't fucking do it, he says to Everett.
That's fine. I'll just take my magic healing Band-Aids elsewhere. Fuck you. And then she wanders off into the crowd.
They're not magic. She fucking sucks.
She hears it, looks down at the Band-Aids, and she's like, "No, they're not. Unless someone who truly loves you puts one on you. And then all your boo-boos go away. I miss your mom." And then she goes and, like, continues to bandage up patients.
Oh, fuck. I miss my mum, too. Now I'm sad. Worst fucking nurse ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no healing magic to be had at this particular juncture. There might be some stuff that'll help accelerate your healing, but nothing. There's no boogity boogity instant heal. Cool. So yeah, the three of you have reconvened. You have a few minutes before you have to go in to see the prince. Is there anything you would want to discuss before you do? Anything you want to talk about tactically? He did ask how far you're willing to go, so it's not like he's just going to give it to you. There will clearly be unask, but you're not quite sure what it is. The other thing worth considering for the three of you specifically is there's been no mention of the Bouchards, and you've kind of gotten hints from various other people that the sort of Camarilla that tasked you with doing stuff may not actually be this Camarilla, which is somewhat concerning. Now, granted, there is enough kind of division based on kind of how crazy the world's gotten with Genna happening and all over in the Middle East with a lot of the elders that it's possible there's just a miscommunication. But Everett, you've been getting kind of hints from people that something funky is up. So just also worth the three of you considering as something you might need to address or just be aware of.
Yeah, if we're together again, I'll show them the text.
I was going to say, let's imagine we're somewhere
Hughes.
away from the group.
Yeah,
we're not getting overheard.
No, it's a party. There's like the theater's big enough that there's various like kind of places you can pick up. Plus, everyone's so fucking wounded that there's a lot of just like people licking their wounds and kind of taking a breather, getting bandages and the like.
Yeah, I'll hand my phone to Iris and show it to Ridley as well and say, that's a message I got from Ellen Fuse. She's my sire. She's the one who assigned me to meet with you two here in Montreal. She says that these people are claiming to be the Camarilla.
Oh, that's perfect. All right. So we say yes to whatever they ask as long as it doesn't fuck us over. We get really powerful within them. And then, we just go and rip that fucking Ryan LaPlante's heart out. And then we just rip the prince's head off and take over. Then they become a part of our ongoing structure.
So is the plan to just literally go in there and tell them whatever they want to hear and say yes to everything and then do whatever we want later?
I mean, that
have
sounds
to deliver on those.
That sounds what
promises
the
we
plan
make,
is.
Ridley.
It sounds like a pretty fucking good. You can't say fucking no to these people. I don't like if you've been here before and they're like, "Do you want to take over half the city? I'm going to require you to burn down an hospital," and then you say no, then they kill you, and someone else burns down the hospital. You agree, you improvise, you adapt, and if it goes wrong, you agree, you leave the room, and then you shoot them in their car when they try to drive away.
Do we really want to commit ourselves to these people and this mass number of people?
Do we want to commit ourselves to fighting this many people?
Yeah, because if we say we're going to do something, then we betray them. They're all coming after us.
Yeah, but if we say no, they all come after us. If we betray them, we get to choose when and where they come after us.
I mean, half the city's on fire right now thanks to the Inquisition. But, it's not just us against these vampires.
The Inquisition just killed my fucking friend. The Inquisition is not someone we could team up with. I'll tell you that right now. If the options are this or the Inquisition, I'm fucking joining these cunts. I don't even care what they do.
I'm just saying, we're not the only ones opposing these vampires. I'm not saying we have to join them. I'm saying we're not alone. It's not the same.
So you want to... Okay, then what's our plan when we go in? Because right now they only want to fucking talk to Iris. So there's not... I don't think they're going to welcome, it's not Dragon's Den, where they're like, why don't you come in, pitch what you'd like, and then go talk to the wall about the offer. How do we know what we're all agreeing to or don't agree to? Otherwise, we're just saying Iris drives the bus. Do we just want to say Iris drives the bus?
I mean, when it comes to this kind of stuff, Iris handles herself quite well.
Well,
do you know what? I totally agree. Iris, Everett, and I both agree that you should make the decision for the group.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Now, is that an example of you agreeing and then going to tear my head off later? Or Iris's head off, for that matter?
Well, as long as we all agree that we're now committed to this path, then I can explain my reasoning.
But until we agree. Right now.
Okay, I feel like it would behoove us to actually, even if we're not going to honor anything we say in there, have a line that we draw. So it does seem like we legitimately have values and lines that we won't cross. So I'm going to go to Ridley for this one because he has the higher tolerance for doing things. What is the line that you cross if they ask us to do it? We won't do.
Well, I mean, we don't want to kill a bunch of fucking unrelated people. It won't help us. It'll gain a bunch of fucking heat and it causes problems. They want us to go to war with vampires? Fuck yeah. They want us to go to war with the Inquisition? Fuck yeah. They want us to go to war with the cops? I mean, I'd be like, what if we don't? But we could do it. But if they're like, we need to start, I don't know. It sounds like Sabat shit from what I know, but we don't want to fucking terrorize innocent people, fucking eat people off the streets, torturing innocent people's fucked. That shit, no. But all the other shit that lets you take over somewhere and run it effectively, yes. That'd be what my gut would say.
Okay.
Everett, do you have any lines you'd like to draw, given that your moral compass is drastically different than theirs?
Yeah. Honestly, short of killing vampires, and even then, only certain vampires, I'm not too comfortable with murder beyond that. Even the Inquisition is a weird gray space, because I know almost nothing about them.
They're not fucking a grey area. They fucking killed my fucking best friend who owned that fucking bar, whose name I have to look up because I'm also...
TJ Malone, you're so upset.
TJ Malone, and I fucking suck. I'm so upset I can't even remember his name. I just picture his fucking corpse. You shot fucking police officers today. The Inquisition are the fucking bad guys. They'll kill me. They'll kill Iris, and they'll kill you. Is your secret that you're in the fucking Inquisition?
Nope.
Good. Because they're not fucking grey area. We fucking kill all of them. We take their heads and we remove them from the body, and the guts come out. Knife goes in, guts come out, fucking the old Inquisition.
Is that it, though? The Inquisition killed the bartender, and now the whole Inquisition has to get wiped out?
I think I'm with Ridley on this one. I think if we don't defend ourselves, we will get hunted.
Yeah, they also kidnapped her brother, and that's why she's got fucking demon powers, because they fucking pumped her full of hell or something.
Look, I'm really not on my game tonight. I think that's been pretty clear. I was shot in the head earlier. That wasn't super. And Iris here just helped me. I don't know the full details, but she helped me keep from making I think what was a big mistake based on the context clues earlier this evening.
What mistake?
It's not important right now, but...
You whitewash all these fucking things that are clearly important. What the fuck is going on? Iris, why don't you tell me what's going on? Because clearly you know what happened.
It's kind of not my secret, and I kind of need him to tell you.
Wait, so now you're both we agreed no fucking secrets between at least the fucking two of us.
Everett, do you have something to tell Ridley?
Just that tonight I'm not really in... I'm not feeling like I'm in a good position to be making choices on what lines I can and cannot cross. So I don't think I have anything to add here.
So you're not going to reveal your secret at this time, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Iris, I just want to be clear. The secret that you know, will it get me killed at some point if I'm not aware of it? Like I've been told, it will.
I mean, any secret could potentially get you killed. I don't know.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you both. Oh, you fucking pieces of shit. You fucking
Everett,
know.
you need to tell him.
Okay.
Fine. Can we go somewhere more private than this?
The three of you pile into a bathroom, like the one of the sort of large accessible bathrooms, and lock the door. So you're standing in a small, well-lit, well-appointed bathroom.
Great. I take up my revolver and I empty the regular bullets and I put in silver bullets. I close it and I slide it like across the counter of sinks, like over to Ridley and Iris. And I say, I eat vampires.
Everett Fry's words ring loud in the small, sort of silent tiled bathroom. The words, I eat vampires, accompanied by a loaded revolver, land on both of you. Now, admittedly, Iris, you already knew this was the case, but Ridley, this is the secret you've been angling for so very long. What do you do?
I continue to speak and say, you need to decide whether you're going to kill me now or not.
Well, I mean, wait, we've all eaten a fucking vampire. We all ate, what's his fucking name from the school? We've all
I
drank
eat vampires exclusively, Ridley. That's my prey, is you. You and Iris and all the other vampires you may or may not care about or come to care about. That's my food.
Just let me wrap my head around this one. So
yeah, let me help you wrap your head around that. It has been made pretty clear to me that that is basically grounds for immediate execution within the Camarilla, any kind of real vampire organization, as I understand it. And now you have this anchor around your neck, my insatiable hunger for vampire blood. So either pick up the revolver and put me down like the ravenous dog I may turn out to be, or like you mentioned earlier, does knowing my god-awful secret all of a sudden make you trust me now? Because you've got something on me. That's what it took, right?
Everett, you're a fucking moron. Do you know this? Oh, I mean, do you get bloodbound to people if you've been drinking from the same vampire? You drank some of what's the fucking name that we kept in a box. Did you fall in love with her?
No, I fucking ate her, Ridley.
Listen, you're getting real fucking preachy. Let's just tone it down while we can figure this out. So if you don't get bloodbound and you fucking need to drink vampire blood, you should have told us this way long ago. I mean this in the nicest, most constructive way, but you're a fucking moron. You realize that we're vampires, right? So we can fucking drink blood from the people that we drink blood from, and we can put some blood in fucking bags that you could drink just from us. You don't fucking have to eat anyone. You don't have to slink around. You don't have to be fucking starving. We just amp up the amount we eat, and we fucking supply you.
That's unacceptable to me. I don't like you eating people either. I don't want you, so I especially don't want you eating more people on my account.
So now the theory is that we have to let you have some sort of bullshit moral stand, a man who turned a hunter into a vampire, a man who shot police officers, and a man who kidnapped a fucking baby is too good to survive, as far as I've heard. You're determined that you're going to bring us down with you because we can't help you.
If you've got a problem with the way my hunger has manifested in, yes, turning Jocelyn St. James.
Everett, I think it's pretty clear that he doesn't have a problem with your hunger.
No, I have a problem with you not letting us feed it.
He has a problem with the decisions that I'm making. A problem that tonight I think I've realized is I'm not always driving the bus, so to speak. So how much more times are you going to let that get us into trouble?
Well, if we give you blood from us, you drive the bus. Blood from us, drive the bus. That's the whole theory here.
And what if I get too hungry? What if I go too long and the next time I see you, I'm some kind of monster that tries to eat Iris?
Well, I mean, we live together, so I feel like it won't be that long between when we see each other.
This all feels like Band-Aid bullshit, man. It doesn't feel like a real solution. That right there, and I point to the revolver and I say, that is a permanent solution.
Okay, then shoot yourself, and I'll just toss him the gun.
Listen, guys. I feel like this is a bridge that we don't need to cross right now, especially with a snap judgment. I feel like that there are plans and methods that we can put into place to make sure you don't get that hungry. I mean,
it sounds like you two have this well in hand, and I should have just...
We're pretty resourceful. We can maybe, create some kind of snack pack that you always have around.
A snack pack.
Well, it fucking has worked for her. She's got, that fucking guy down the hallway who's making me my murder gloves. You know, she's got Emily. She's got... did the soda stream shit. She's fucking creative when it comes to blood. We just got to get it from ourselves.
Fine. If you think it's going to work, go ahead. I don't know. I don't care.
Do you trust us at all?
I'll pick up the revolver and I'll holster it. And I'll leave without answering the question.
And I mean, Oris, is it weird that he brought us into the bathroom for this? After outside, I said, what if we agree and just murder everyone who's a part of this organization? I feel like that was a big statement to make in public. And this one is sort of comparable, not less, not more. I'm worried about him. I think he might shoot himself.
And you gave him back his gun.
Yeah, because I can't fucking prevent him from doing it. If he wants to do that, what am I supposed to do? Fucking tie him up and put him in a corner? We've put vampires in a box, and we agreed after a certain point that's just immoral. Right now, I'm hoping he makes a better choice. Because we can't fucking make him do it. His problem right now is he doesn't want to be a vampire, and he fucking never did. And he does horrible things as a vampire. He's no better than either of us, but he's so full of fucking shit that he fucking refuses to acknowledge where he is.
Yeah, you're right. So is there kind of some sort of vamp therapist we can send him to? Because he needs to come to terms with the fact that he's a fucking vampire.
Well, I mean, here's our problem, which is any vamp therapist will hear all of his thoughts. And we know that this organization of vampires is probably not the one we work for. And we know that the Bouchard brothers, instead of helping Emily, turned her into a fucking werewolf, so they're not reliable. How's your therapy skills? I feel like you're a good talker.
I feel like the best bet would be to send him to a human therapist because he's not going to want to eat them. And at least he can talk about his issues in a thinly veiled, we can give him something code that's not vampire. I have OCD.
So what if you make a human therapist become part of your herd of little helpers so that they love you and they won't betray us and then they can treat, him?
It's a possibility, but I mean, they're going to have I don't really want to take an innocent person and...
What if we find a shitty, crooked therapist, someone who sells drugs on the side or something that won't affect him, but then there's someone that I can eat if they become a problem?
It's not a bad idea.
It's got to be some sort of criminal therapist we can fucking find.
Yeah. Should we tell him about this plan or just do it?
I think we should probably just, we need to find the therapist. We need to narrow that down. And then we can talk to him about how maybe he should see one. And we've got a suggestion. We could give him a card and he can make a call.
Seems like the healthy course of action.
Yeah, otherwise he might find his own therapist, and then I'm worried that he'll kill them. Or kidnap their baby or something.
But we're committed to like helping him.
Yeah, fuck it. I was committed to helping him in here. He's the one who's like, well, you need to kill me or help me.
Well, he's being a big whiny baby. And
and he's like, you can't help me. You have to kill me. Otherwise, shut up and I'll kill us all, which does not seem like a reasonable expectation of friends.
Anyway, now that he's calm, we need to put a pin in this and deal with the other crisis that we're dealing with. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, it's cool if he knows I can't fucking read. I don't give a shit. It's just a weird thing to try to bring up in conversation after a certain amount of time.
Cool.
Everett, as they were chatting, you are out amongst the crowd. What do you think you'd be doing?
I need some air, even though I can't breathe. Like, I can't benefit from it.
Fair enough. So you step outside onto the street. The two Bruja guards who are standing there, armed with like automatic weapons, kind of nod to you and just kind of open the door. Outside, there is chaos in the streets of Montreal. There's a joy in kind of popping out for a smoke to kind of get away from everything. But unfortunately, the smoke that is in the air right now is that of collapsed buildings and mass chaos. Given the kind of downtown location of the Centaur Theater, it's not like there's cars whipping by, but there's definitely you can hear gunshots in the distance, sirens kind of at every angle. There's helicopters overhead. The city's become a war zone. I think for you as a lawman, there's something incredibly surreal about this, because this is one of those things that I think people kind of claim doesn't happen in like Canada until it happens in Canada. And I mean, Quebec actually does have a bit of a history with this, with the FLQ. So it is a bit surreal, but also I think brings home the fact that there are stakes to the vampire world's fight with the Inquisition that weren't immediately apparent. The fact that the Inquisition is willing to level buildings is a little concerning, to say the least. And I think much beyond what you, as someone who admittedly was like planning to hunt vampires back in the day, like that is much further than I think you would be willing to go. What's going through your head as you kind of observe this scene of terror and chaos?
Why am I here? I lived a life and I died, and that should have been it. And I was brought back for fucking what? This is all someone else's ambition made manifest. This is all other people's plans and wants and desires. And I was dead. And now I'm back and I don't know what I want. And what am I alive? Like, am I alive right now? Kind of just getting like he's spiraling.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, can you go ahead and roll me a resolve, and let's go with awareness, please.
200.
Or insight. I'd say you could also go insight if you want.
And awareness or insight. I don't know if it makes a difference. Oh, it does make a difference. Let's go awareness. Three successes.
Okay. So as you start to spiral, Everett, I think you briefly your mind shifts, and you kind of almost can't help it. But as you're spiraling, kind of your subconscious is working away at what it's observing. You're seeing the chaos. You're seeing the anarchy, basically, that's been unleashed. And as you are getting real metaphysical about your own existence and the nature of life and everything else, there's a puzzle that's ticking away at the back of your brain. And with that amount of successes, I'll say your conscious mind is able to kind of grasp it. But Ridley earlier stated that based on the text message, the Camarilla here must be false and the Camarilla that you've been sent by must be true. But as you're thinking about what your purpose is and other people's designs, it occurs to you you're not actually sure if that's true. It could be. But as
that roll is to keep me from spiraling. That's not a good idea to pop into my head.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm just giving them what you got. It's not like you have like a fucking, support animal you can go hang out with who will calm you down. But as an investigator, I do think a puzzle is something that might ground you slightly. And so the grounding question isn't whether or not this is all a lie or what you've been told is a lie, but just that something you're missing some facts. And as is Ridley and to some extent Iris's way, they've kind of driven pretty far ahead under the assumption that, yes, okay, what we have believed is true. But as an investigator, you actually don't have enough evidence on either side to really be able to weight that. The Bouchard brothers piece doesn't fit right now, nor does necessarily what the purpose of turning you would be. So all that to say, as an investigator, there is a case that could perhaps draw your attention. That said, having the only thing that at least you thought you knew come under scrutiny is also concerning. So I don't know if that solves anything for you, but I would say from my side of things, the only thing I can think of in this particular situation, this particular moment that might give Everett pause is an unsolved case. And currently this is that. But
all right,
he's your character, so I leave it up to you.
A memory pops into Everett's mind very vividly in this moment. And it is some extremely grim advice that he didn't necessarily take or agree with at the time, but feels applicable now all of a sudden. I think with enough stains on his humanity, it makes more sense. A more seasoned a veteran detective once gave me the advice that when dealing with a sophisticated killer in your investigation, sometimes the only way to solve the case, to identify and catch that person, is to wait for more bodies to show up. Is to wait for them to continue killing, wait for them to make mistakes, wait for them to leave more evidence. And with the idea of like having to wait for more murder before gaining clarity, I think Everett just he just says, fine. And he goes back inside and joins the party.
Great. The guards nod to you as you come back in. Ridley and Iris, I assume you would have left the bathroom after your conversation concluded. So you're kind of back out on the floor. So you will be called in to see the prince shortly. The only other sort of hanging lead was when you first arrived, you were told to seek out Jacob Kane, that he might have information for you. Would you want to do that before or after you speak to the prince? And I believe, Everett, you were told this?
I think I was there pretending to be like her, not pretending, but like being her like attaché, being her assistant for that piece. So I recall that information as well, but I don't know if I've rejoined you two yet, or if this is a decision being made kind of while I'm outside.
I think this is as you've walked back in. So I guess actually that's a good question for you, Tyler. Do you think Everett would rejoin them now? Is it kind of that sheepish, like, I'm just going to like shuffle up near them and not necessarily address anything that's just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody else, so I might as well go back to them just now that I've kind of taken a little walk.
Okay. As you start to make your way in, you feel a hand on your arm, and you turn to see Sorka. But now her eyes are a different color and don't have the doubling effect. And she just says, so Sorka and I were talking, and it seems like you might be going through a bit of a rough patch. And trust me, if there's one thing we know, it's rough patches. Are you okay?
Sorka is your sister. I'm sorry. Have we met? I mean, we have met, but you're not Sorka.
I kind of, yeah. No, my name's Fiona. Sorka is definitely not my sister, because that'd be super gross. It's kind of a long story. I don't know how much you know about Tremere magic. I don't know if magic's a thing you necessarily know about. I know people don't talk about it all that much. Blood magic's kind of a weird, vaguely taboo topic, but through a tremendously strange series of events, my Sorka, my lover, and I, we both kind of just got stuck in this body. And she kind of like looks down. She says, Sorka's body. So I'm kind of like, I guess, her roommate, sort of. I'm renting, leasing. I'm not really sure. Squatting, perhaps. But yeah, we're both in here. It's handy that she's Malkavian, because everyone just assumes she's talking to herself. But yeah, I don't get out very often, so this is a kind of a nice moment for me. But she was pretty drained after, the whole like nom 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 arm situation. So I'm driving the bus, as it were. But again, we're both kind of worried about you. Are you okay?
Sorry. I thought I had kind of taken in all the new and novel information that I could for one night, but I think you might have just topped the whole list there with that story about how you and Sorka came to occupy the same body. Am I okay? I don't know. No. Are any of us okay after we die and become like this? I mean,
I'm trapped in my wife's body, so like I get it. We all
seem to have a pretty even keel on things, given your situation. You're stronger than I am.
Well, I mean, we do now, but I got to tell you, it took a while. We, when this first happened, it was, look, I don't know who your sire is or what your relationship is. Sorka's is a real fucking piece of work. And it was an unpleasant road, but, she made some valuable friends, and those friends, Abigail, some others, they helped us come to terms with this, figure it out. But no, there was a bad time there. But we sought out help. We spent some time in an asylum that really helped. It was meant to be a punishment, but turned out to be actually the best possible thing. We found some real good supports there. And I mean, look, I came to this life from a kind of a different route. And finding out that your wife is a kindred, something you didn't think exists, and then getting fucking merged with her is a bit of a trip. So I get it. It sucks. But, I watched Sorka suffer alone for a really long time. And it sounds like you need to get yourself some support, man. Like, I don't know if it's friends or a lover or someone you knew when you were human. But even then, I got to tell you, as a former human myself, none of us are emotionally prepared for what your kind go through. So the sooner you can find some help from other kindred, the better, because we're all stuck like this. And I don't think you need to suffer more than, the whole having to drink blood thing, which is really fucked up. I'm real sorry you're going through that. It's one of the few times I'm glad I no longer have a body, is I don't have to taste it, because you never get used to it, or at least I didn't.
Yeah, you might be right. I thought I was getting some help from friends earlier this evening, but we didn't agree on what help might have meant. And some people that I've cared about have really been hurt or had their lives ruined by my involvement now that I'm like this.
You see Fiona kind of put a hand to her temple, almost like she's got a migraine. And as she kind of blinks it away, her eyes take on that double focus again, and in a different voice, admittedly kind of a sleepy voice, kind of yawning, kind of shaking off the night. Sorka says, if anyone knows How that feels, it's me. My wife got literally shunted into my body. That's you never quite get over how bad that feels. And admittedly, you know, we've made it work, but that's the nature of being a kindred. The ones you love will get hurt. And it's up to you whether or not you can live with that, and more importantly, what you can do to make it right.
Haven't thought about making it right. Thanks.
You're welcome. And, you know, if you get peckish, arms always open. Fiona's like, "Oh, that's so gross, Sorka. Don't offer our arm as a snack." And they proceed to have an adorable lover's quabble about like what hors d'oeuvres to offer as you make your way back over to the party. So the three of you are now sort of back together. How does that kind of party moment of reconciliation go? Not reconciliation like you all have to be buds, but you know, it's awkward after you have a fight with someone to just shuffle back up to them because you don't know anyone else at the party.
I don't know anyone else here.
Yeah, we know.
Ridley, in the interim, you've managed to get a coat or a shirt of some sort. What are you wearing over your burned flesh body now?
I feel like he would have got it from one of the younger vampires, because the older vampires wouldn't really be able to trade clothes so much. I feel like he's probably got like a Montreal Canadiens jersey, like something somebody was wearing over the other parts of their outfit that he's just kind of claimed. So it's baggy. It's like way too big.
And I think
it's kind of swimming in it.
Sure. And I think it's been shot several times. So it's like kind of ruined, which is why someone would be so eager to give it away. But yeah, you're wearing an oversized jersey that makes you look a bit like, Kevin Smith of like 10 years ago, just massive oversized hockey jersey. But at least, you know, you're not flaking all over the place now. So the question remains, do you seek out Jacob Kane or do you go to meet the prince? Keeping in mind, you will have a chance to seek him out after. It's just up to you what order you want to do these things in.
I don't think I know about Jacob Kane, so I can't answer this question.
Fair enough.
Iris, do you want to speak with Jacob Kane before talking to the prince? I feel like the more data and information we have before having the big talk with the new Prince of Montreal might serve you well.
I think that's smart.
All right.
Who's Jacob Kane?
So they quickly fill you in on the information they received, just that, you know, person worth talking to. And with that, you ask around, you ask a couple of friendly kindred, and they point you to a man who is just sort of standing in a corner, looking at a very well polished pocket watch that seems almost to be like a cross between a locket and a pocket watch. Like there's a photo in it, in the cover of it. He's a tall guy, short black hair, very well kept beard. He's wearing a meticulous sort of 40s style 3-piece suit. Yeah, he just seems to be kind of looking a little bit almost longingly at the wristwatch, or at the pocket watch. And as you approach, he just kind of smiles at it and says, "Ah, yes, right on time." And he snaps it shut. For those of you who would be interested, I feel like all three of you are kind of inquisitive enough that you might want to. Inquisitive in the case of the investigator and the mobster, nosy in the case of Iris. If you want to try and see what's in the locket, you can go ahead and roll me let's go with awareness and wits. Because this is literally just like invariably if someone's looking at something secret, your eyes are drawn to it, and whether or not you can see it before he snaps it shut.
1 success for Ridley.
2.
Okay. And Tyler's counting up his dice.
4 successes, 2 10s, neither of them on hunger dice.
Regular successy. Well, that's good because you were the only one to roll high enough to catch it. Everett, you're slightly taken aback to see a photo of Dr. Skull. Admittedly, looking much more put together than you ever saw him. A little bit younger, very clean cut, and the pocket watch snaps shut. And he just kind of looks up and says, I was so very dearly hoping that you would come to see me at this particular time. It would seem to me that 8:42 p.m. is the ideal time for a meeting. Wouldn't you agree?
In Everett's brain, he just screams, Christ, it's only 8:42 p.m. Just like, what a hell of a night.
It's been a fucking rough one.
Yeah.
And again, everything like that whole bar fight was probably 5 minutes. But it gets dark early, sure. But yes, he kind of looks up at the three of you expectantly, and then his eyes narrow a bit, and he just says, yes, I believe you might be just the people I'm looking for. Mr. DeSanti will be ever so pleased that you came.
Who now?
He kind of just mutters to himself a little bit and shakes his head and says, you must forgive me. I am bad at providing the necessary conversational context often. It is a danger of having a mind as busy as mine. Yes, Mr. Angelo DeSanti, my current employer, as it were, and a man of some renown. Tyler, Everett would definitely remember this name from the visits to the hospital when you guys were investigating what happened to Emily. DeSanti Medical is a massive sort of medical agency here in Montreal. You saw DeSanti Medical equipment everywhere at the hospital you went to. Obviously, privatized hospitals aren't really a thing up here, but his stamp was definitely all over the place. It's definitely a name you would know. And he says, Mr. DeSanti is very curious to speak with you. He did not, your incursion into his hospital was not unnoticed. Neither, I believe, was if it was indeed you, your toss-up at the coroner's office, both of which were rather well documented, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, he is quite eager to speak with you. And you notice he kind of gets a little, like he shuffles his feet a little bit and says, and actually, I must admit, I am as well. I do believe you may have been some of the last people to speak to my dear friend before his murder, and I would be ever so grateful if you could assist me in discovering what happened to my dear friend. I believe you knew him as Dr. Skull.
Everett looks to Iris.
We did have a couple brief encounters. He helped us out a couple times, but can't say that I know exactly what happened to him.
One of our friends was a patient in his care. So, yes, we did visit the hospital and speak with Dr. Skull, but only regarding our friend, I believe.
And he kind of nods and looks back up and he says, yes, but you did investigate the crime scene, I believe. Please, you wouldn't stop a vampire from avenging a friend, would you? And you see a slight flicker of flame appear in his hands around the pocket watch, which he quickly kind of like closes a fist around and sticks back in his pocket.
That's a neat trick.
It comes with a cost, but it is worth it.
Huh.
The magical arts are not one that all kindred are aware of, but I find them quite fascinating, as do the rest of my clan. And then he nods at Ridley and says, I believe you are familiar with the flame as well, my friend.
I've had a taste. It's not my favorite, but, you know, I feel like I'm going to be tasting it again at some point in the future.
We all do, eventually. In any case, I cannot possibly put my needs before Mr. DeSanti's, but if you do find the time, I would greatly appreciate any assistance you can give me. Trust me. And he kind of pats the pocket with the pocket watch. He says, I'll always find the time, and I sincerely hope you will as well. This is where you may find Mr. DeSanti. And he hands you a business card. And he says, I believe he may be able to help with your current housing situation as well. You would do well to call him at your earliest convenience.
Why would Mr. DeSanti extend such a kindness to us?
And he grins in a almost like a Grinch-esque grin, like his mouth is alarmingly thin. And he just says, our kind must always trade in favors and niceties, wouldn't you agree? Besides, based on the condition of this particular one, and he nods to Ridley, says, you might want a nice, comfortable place to recuperate for some time, I think. And I'm sure what he will ask in return will be entirely within your means to grant. It's always helpful to have friends, don't you think? And with that, he'll kind of like, almost like his eyebrows just sort of shoot up a moment, and he reaches into his pocket quickly and says, oh dear, and immediately just like books it across the room, where he plants and then proceeds to wait. And a moment later, someone does indeed walk up, and you can see his shoulders kind of relax with relief as the person meets him.
Well, all right. It doesn't really help us, I guess, with this conversation with the prince, but good to know we got a place to stay tonight.
I'm also going to tell you right now, under no circumstances will I be helping him avenge Dr. Skull.
Yeah, no. Emily killed the shit out of Dr. Skull, and I guess that's not really...
I think the key to this one is we're going to have to find someone fucking else that he can blame it on, because he's not going to go away, which means this is an ongoing threat against Emily. But right now, he's also where we're going to sleep tonight, because we actually have no other options. So, other than, I guess we could all move into Iris's place. Iris, is your place been, I don't know, a security concern in any way? I mean,
other than the fact that I just got trampled by a ton of vamps with Drac.
Oh, fuck. Okay, no, we need a new place to stay for all of us.
Something tells me Jacob Kane is not going to be so easy to fool. That pocket watch thing seems to give him insight into things. But anyway, that's a bridge to cross another time, I guess.
Okay, so we talk to the prince. We go visit Mr. DeSantis to get ourselves a new fucking place. And then we figure out how to hide Emily and feed someone who's in a very fucking convincing way to the man who wants to avenge Dr. Skull.
I'm this close to feeding him Iggy.
And with that, Sheriff of Elysium, Ryan LaPlante, arrives and just starts like violently pointing at a watch and gesturing kind of wildly. And with that, you go in to meet the prince. Ryan LaPlante ushers you all into the theater. There is the Centaur Theater is kind of a nice large, it's got a couple theaters, but the one that the prince has set up shop in has kind of a long walk down to the stage. The Marquis himself has set himself up on a bit of a throne that seems to have been dragged out of prop storage. It's a little too stage proppy to be properly impressive. And you can tell from the way he shuffles in his seat that he is acutely aware that it's kind of stupid, but has committed to it and is kind of doing it. You're ushered in and kind of brought to the stage. And as you approach, he kind of smiles again, like think like a young Gandolfini in 1700s, late 1700s gear. And the General of New France stands to greet you and says, yes, the done Coterie. I have done a few of these this evening, and yours is one of the ones I've been looking the most forward to. Please come and join me on the stage. I apologize about the lack of seating, but desperate times and all that. So you're brought up onto the stage. There are no seats aside from his. Do you stand? Do you sit? What do you do?
Everett will stand.
Stand.
Great. So he sort of steeples his fingers and says, so I'm aware of Miss Dunn, but I'm afraid I am unfamiliar with the two of you. Who might you two be?
My name is Everett Fry. Your
I'm
Highness.
Ridley Beef. He's Everett. Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So Ridley Beef and Everett Fry. I appreciate your majesty. I think I'll keep it for now. Honestly, I have been a bit taken aback by how casual things seem to have gotten since I've been underground. But I suppose time marches forward. I recall my sire complaining about this very thing, and I thought him foolish. Well, I suppose joke's on me. Well, welcome, the three of you. You have been causing quite a stir here in Montreal. May I ask what brought you to I apologize, to this city, to Montreal, to Quebec. Quebec. What a stupid name.
Tom, quick meta question from my boy Ridley's perspective. Is he Nate Nostra rules? Is that something he could talk about, or is that something he's not supposed to talk about?
You were sent to establish a foothold in Montreal by the Note Nostra under the sort of auspices of, I believe we discussed that the Camarilla was aware that, in theory, at least based on what you've been told, aware that you'd be coming over. So yes, I think you could speak about it, because essentially, if we're talking kind of who's in the game, who isn't, this would be like someone from the mob talking to the politician they know is on the take, if that makes any sense.
Cool.
So up to you how much or how little you'd want to reveal of that. But yes, I believe this wouldn't be letting someone else know it exists. This would theoretically be talking to like the corrupt mayor.
Yeah. I think Ridley would say, I was sent over by my sire to help establish a Camarilla foothold. I'm involved with an organization that, let's say, is peripherally linked with Camarilla leadership.
And he cocks an eyebrow. What organization would that be? You must forgive me. I've been underground for quite some time, and I'm beginning to wonder if they would have brought me out of Torpor at all had the elders not been called overseas to fight in their apocalypse war.
Well, let's just say if the Camarilla is to politicians, my organization is to the mafia.
Oh, so the Notte Nostra.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you knew it. So, thumbs up.
So are you part of Mr. Black's operation? Damien Black, the Notte Nostra operative that has been sent to establish a presence here in Montreal. I met with him earlier this evening.
Let's just say within any organization, there are different directors with different aims and their own teams going in. So, yes and no.
Gonna need a manipulation and subterfuge roll from you there, pal.
Am I telling the truth? I feel like I don't know Damien Black. Do I know Damien Black?
You definitely do not know Damien Black, and you don't know him from back across the pond either.
Yeah, I don't fucking know this guy at all. Sorry, it was manipulation and what?
And subterfuge, please.
One success.
Okay. The Montcalm's face kind of darkens a bit, and he just says, "Interesting company you keep, Miss Dunn. And you, Mr. Fry, you have made an admirable attempt at etiquette, but what brings you here?"
I was sent here to assist the Camarilla in taking Montreal from the Sabbat.
May I ask by whom?
My instructions come from a secret source not even I am aware of. I feel that information is so key in the early stages of claiming territory that I'm on a need-to-know basis.
He kind of nods and seems somewhat concerned. You hear a door open in the balcony, and two kindred make their way kind of down to the edge of the balcony, and you notice both of them have high-powered rifles. And he just nods and says, "Sacre merde, they told me that this territory had calmed down somewhat in my absence, but I can see that it is just as fraught as it was in my day. This is somewhat concerning. That said, I am now a man with no nation. My nation is this city. So if you serve me, you serve the interests of the Camarilla, then we will have no issue. If you serve the agendas of former masters, shadowy figures, and the like, we shall find a rather large issue between us." And you hear the sort of pointed cocking of guns.
Everett will raise his hands in a sort of disarming effort and just say, up until now, my instructions came from a cell phone. If I can receive instructions from the prince's mouth, more the better.
He kind of like squints a bit, and you can see him kind of doing some quick calculation. He says, "Oh, yes, the square device that you voices come out of, yes."
Yes, Your Highness, yes.
Cell phone. Such a strange device. Such a strange time, but here we are. And he kind of spreads wide his hands and says, "So, regardless of how you came to be here, I must admit I am rather glad that you are. It would seem that you've been making life awfully difficult for various agents of chaos around the city that I myself have been looking to deal with. I understand you've encountered the Children of Batista."
We did.
We encountered Batista, Your Highness.
Well, we dismembered Batista would be the most accurate way to put it.
And for the first time, you see a grin, but it's almost like, again, based on the era he's from, there's a bit of that, like, for lack of a better term, courtly shyness about it, where it's kind of like a suppressed smile. And he nods and says, "Yes, I must admit that is part of the reason why none of my men have put bullets or stakes in you as of yet. You have done a tremendously good service to the masquerade by dispatching that particular monster. There have been dumb kindred for generations, but turning people all willy-nilly," and he does like a very surprisingly kind of elegant sort of turn of his hands as he says it, has been a true threat to everything we hold dear. And as the events of the city today have proven, we're all only one inquisition away from the true death. So, bravo. And he claps very daintily. And then kind of leans back and says, "So, Batista himself may be gone, but the people who set him on the world sired him and taught him how to turn kindred are still at large, unfortunately, as are many of his children. Which brings me to my question, Miss Dunn, as to how far you're willing to go. As I look at a map of this city of black miracles, as they seem determined to call it, I notice an area that I believe would be a good home for you, the West End of Montreal. It is further from the digs that I understand you have been squatting in to this point, but if reports are to be believed, those places are mostly gone now in a blaze of inquisitorial fire. So, my offer is this. Your enemies, the orphans, have a stronghold in the west end of the city, a bar that is rather larger and perhaps more complex than at first it seems. The orphans have been a Sabbat nuisance to the Camarilla for some time, going even so far as to start conflict in Ottawa, which I suppose is this nation's capital now? It's incredibly strange. In any case, the orphans are a problem. They're my problem, and thus they are your problem. The children of Batista have been known to integrate very quickly into the orphans, those that aren't in higher echelons of society, like the dearly departed professor that I believe Miss Dunn dealt with rather viciously. So, my offer is this. I wish to give you what you already want. Revenge on the remainder of Batista's line, as well as leads as to who could have created him. New territory to own and control, Mr. Beef, if you are in fact related to the Notte Nostra. Surely having a gang headquarters would be something of interest to you, and a chance to wipe the orphans off the map once and for all. If you do this, if you can take their stronghold from them and wipe them off of my city's map, their territory shall be your territory, their resources, your resources, their headquarters, your headquarters, and you shall have earned a place at my table. Is this a distance you would be willing to go for the Camarilla and your prince?
Ridley looks at Iris because we're trying to reinforce Iris as being in charge, but he's like, very excitedly, yes.
I think that is an agreement we can agree on.
He nods and says, wonderful, then we have an accord. Failure, of course, will be met with very, very harsh consequence, particularly given the somewhat unreliable narrative of your Mr. Beef and your Mr. Fry. That said, based on what you've managed to accomplish so far, I have the utmost faith in you. If you could put down Batista, I'm sure you will have no trouble with his children. From there, I will need whatever information you find about his line, who sired him, what their goals are. There are things happening in this city that are of great concern to me. There seems to be more happening here than there ought to be, with the Sabbat mostly on the ropes. On that note, word has gotten out to the Anarchs that the city is up for grabs. I suspect we will be seeing a large influx. They want to make it another one of their free cities, a free territory where kindred can live free of the constraints of the masquerade. In short, they will doom us all. So be on your guard, be on the watch. There are more and more of them filtering into the city every day, and I suspect many of them have already infiltrated the ranks of several organizations. So keep an eye out for Anarchs, and of course the Sabbat may be down, but they are most certainly not out. It would be foolish to assume that just because their leader died rather spectacularly, as I understand it, that they are done. But first things first, the orphans and the children of Batista. Now, Mr. Beef, you look as though you greeted the sun, which is rather concerning, and as you've no doubt noticed, the Inquisition, who is a bit different than what I'm used to. I rather thought they wore armor and swung swords still, but it would seem that they have weaponized gunpowder in some truly extraordinary ways, are currently ravaging our city. So my request to you would be to lay low. Mr. Beef, you look as though you have something you want to add.
No, that sounds great. I was going to say, they do still have the sword swinging ones, and they have the gun ones. It's a whole spread.
Excellent. Now, my soldiers, and he kind of gestures in a way that's very clear, like, they snuck in, but he knows you know, and it's kind of one of those like dumb shows of force. Says, I understand weapons have gotten somewhat fancier since my day. It was a musket ball that knocked me out for quite some time, but I understand it's all multi-shot bullshit now. I would ask if you can, any Inquisition information you have obtained or can share would be of great use to the Camarilla at this time. This is the largest show of force we have ever seen them bring to a Canadian city, but it would seem that the events that transpired in Toronto not that long ago seem to have really put them on edge. But any advice you can give would be greatly appreciated. As you know, the Inquisition forms the greatest single threat to our existence other than the loss of the Masquerade. And the fact that there are seemingly several organizations working together rather than one very killable organization is, well, it's shit. But all that to say, the city is under assault. There's little you can do that will not draw undue attention to the Masquerade, so I would ask you to lay low for a time. Now, I understand, given that your home has been destroyed, and I believe, Miss Dunn, yours has been compromised, that you are at loose ends. Do you have somewhere to stay?
Currently, no, but I have someone that is acquiring a new location for me.
Excellent. Mr. Beef, you will need to rest up for some time, I suspect, so I will not expect results soon, but nor will I tolerate tardiness. So I would ask you to heal up, make your preparations, and let us know. Mr. Fry, I'm glad you have one of those witch boxes that delivers information. I will have my Mr. LaPlante send you any relevant information on my end. But I do expect this to be done as soon as it can be once things have settled down. So please go tend to your wounds, make your preparations, and hopefully when next we speak, I will be proudly crowning you lieutenants of the West End of Montreal. Otherwise, he kind of shrugs and he says, there are plenty more very eager to take your place.
Thank you. We'll make sure it happens.
And he just sort of nods and says, and just kind of gestures for you to scoot. Is there anything else you want to ask him on your way up? Knowing that he has dismissed you. So you run the risk of...
No.
Yep. Great. So the three of you make your way back out into the lobby. Iris, you are full-on shoulder-checked by Fleur-de-Lis Tempestra as she makes her way past you with her coterie. It's definitely like a oops, I bumped into you, but an active oops, I bumped into you. Do you respond in any way? And or do Ridley and Everett respond in any way?
I'd probably just turn around, give her a dashing, like, charming smile and a hair flip, and then keep on walking the other way.
All right.
To kind of like, this doesn't bother me, bitch.
Cool. Can you roll me a composure and I think probably etiquette? Yeah, let's go with etiquette. And Ryan, what were you going to add?
Well, let's see how this plays out first.
Fair enough.
Four successes.
You deal social damage to her as everyone around you takes note of the fact that she used her more impressive physique to physically try and intimidate you, and you took it in more the spirit of Elysium by kind of costing her social standing by making it seem incredibly petty and kind of brutal and base. So there's some like, oh, quite a faux pas. And you can just hear the Baron Magellan like let out like a ha, and as you go to leave, he raises a very vaguely conscious human's arm to you before sipping on it rather delicately. And with that, the three of you make your way out of Elysium. Sorka, like you probably wait a little bit to make sure that the coast is clear, but it would seem that things are settling in the city now. Sorka is nowhere to be seen, Everett. So you've kind of your point of contact's gone. Jacob Kane is also gone. Is there anything else you wanted to do on your way out?
Nope.
I don't think so.
All right. So
I think Ridley's good.
great. The TV news feeds playing at the various screens around the theater suggest that martial law has been imposed on the city. That said, tactically, it would make sense for the Inquisition to fall back, given that the night is a real bad time to fight vampires. But you're able to secure a Dinkeldorf cab. It's Nathan himself who picks you up. And he looks like shit. He's in rough shape. He's got a sawed off like double barrel shotgun kind of over his lap. And he just pulls up. The windows have been shot out on his cab. But he just throws open the door and says, hey there, folks. Sorry about the state of the cab. I know normally I'd send you a fancier car, but it's been a rough night. I had to bust out my old one. Hop in.
Sorry about the state of us. I think Ridley will get in the front because he likes Nathan.
Great. So y'all pile in. The only address you have currently is Angelo DeSantis. Is that where you would head?
Probably check in with Emily to see if she's got a place for us to go.
Unfortunately, with the citywide lockdown going on, she hasn't been able to pull too many strings, unless it was in the same building, but she's actively trying not to. Yeah, she sends you a bunch of like prayer emojis and like the slightly disappointed face emoji, and one eggplant, which she sends an apology about and just says her finger slipped because it's wildly inappropriate for such a somber occasion.
Two things. We should probably tell Emily to if she could pick up my fucking gloves. I don't really want to go to your building looking aura show, but I want my fucking murder fingers. And she should probably leave your apartment and get a different place. Just lie low for a bit, because I don't know how well we've been infiltrated, but with the fucking Inquisition finding us, cell phones are questionable. We don't know who's doing what. You probably need to trade phones and numbers.
Yeah, I'll tell her we need a full wipe.
Cool. She messages you that she's already moved the snack room to a slightly safer location, but that it's a bit of a work in progress. But she will be able to grab the gloves because she's still like in the vicinity. As you make your way through the streets of Montreal, like again, it's chaos and havoc, but things seem to be getting locked down now. And there's just a general state of sort of shell-shocked disbelief throughout the city. That said, eventually you pull up to a massive office tower, just like a pure glass, one of those sort of pure glass buildings, topped with the logo for Decapitated Medical. That's like a heart. Sort of like half of it's a heart and half of it is the staff of Asclepius, like the snake wound around a wing. Yeah. So it's that, but like vaguely stylized in like your company in modern age, so it has to look cool. But a very impressive office tower. You pull up and Nathan just says, "All right. I know things have gotten kind of hairy, but again, you've got my number. I'm going to try and get the company back up and running as soon as I can. But till then, I'm your guy."
Well, thank you very
safe,
much.
friendo.
Take care of yourself,
Ryan. I'm going to add Nathan Dinkeldorf as a touchstone for you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I like him.
Yeah.
And by not just Ryan, but I mean Ridley likes him, and he's a part of the Empire, which makes him emotionally significant.
No, totally understand. And particularly, I think in having kind of just suffered the loss of TJ, there's kind of like a gap because Ridley likes having a crew.
Yeah.
And also the temporary loss of the Bear Boys as they kind of rebrand and figure out what they're doing. So the three of you are brought in. Iris, you flash the business card at security, who kind of nods and takes you to the elevators. Everything is very slick in here. This is like classic kind of like high security corporate office kind of stuff. So everyone in impeccable suits. Ryan, you're getting like strong mafia vibes off this place. It seems kind of like everything's a little like the slickness of the suits and kind of how it's been set up seems almost like a pageantry. Like it feels a bit like mobsters playing dress up.
It's performative corporate where you can tell they're a shark but playing nice in a way.
It's like guys with prison tattoos who are otherwise very clean cut and trying to look generic.
I was gonna say Ridley, for the sake of maintaining masquerade, has probably borrowed, I would say, a baseball cap and sunglasses from Nathan, and he's just pulled his hands like into the sleeves of his jersey. So there's enough to be like, oh, that guy had a really rough life, but so much like enough of him hidden that people are like, oh, I can't ask you to be rude.
Right. Okay, love that. Cool. So you take the elevator up. Tyler, what entirely inappropriately discordant elevator song is playing? Discordant in that it's like with everything that's happening outside, it's always insane when like a pop song is playing.
Yeah. It's a recording of just a full big band swing, Fly Me to the Moon. We just get in as da 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 da. Yeah.
Great. So as you kind of stand in awkward silence as big band plays. Finally, you reach the top floor. There's a guard dog who barks aggressively at the elevator, but is just so damn cute.
Yeah.
I noticed, Ben. This is called Big Dog. It's actually a big band, and I have one dog that barks randomly during recordings, and I always keep it in.
Yeah, because you know what? People who really care about their content keep dog barking in. That is something I can confirm.
That's true. If I didn't have the dog, I wouldn't fucking listen to this band at all.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's why there's the Twitter account, Can You Hear the Dog?
Yeah, exactly.
Confirm that our content you can.
100%. So the elevator dings and you kind of exit out onto the executive floor. It feels old. It's kind of like if you go into really the only example I can think of are like some of the nicer like old Italian restaurants in New York, for instance, just feel like they're still in the 40s. So heavy wood paneling, the carpet is like ancient by kind of modern standards. Like everything just feels very overly plush and a little bit old. As you exit, you realize that kind of this floor is just his office. Like the elevator opens onto his office. There's a sort of a massive wooden desk, and behind it, in kind of an overstuffed chair, sort of reading a bunch of reports, is kind of a Steve Buscemi type, but think like Steve Buscemi circa Boardwalk Empire. So slicked hair, wearing a nice if outdated suit. That he is, even despite how late it is and kind of what's going on, is still buttoned up fully. Like he doesn't seem sort of relaxed at all. And you can hear him kind of muttering to himself as he looks at these reports, and just kind of rubbing his temple slightly. But as the elevator dings, he sort of looks up immediately, and a thin, completely mirthless smile spreads across his face. And he just says, good. I see my associate, Mr. Kane, managed to get word to you, huh? Please, come in. And as you kind of enter, he comes around the desk to greet you, says, my name is Angelo DeSanti, and welcome to my humble headquarters, as it were. I'm guessing you're Irish done, given that you're the only dame in the bunch. Which one of you is fry and which one of you is beef? You guys sound like a Happy Meal. Anyone ever told you that?
Our friends, yes. Our enemies, no. I'm Ridley Beef. Nice to meet you. People call me the Riddler.
Yeah,
I'm
all
the other
right.
guy.
All right, good to know. Listen, you guys need anything to drink? You're looking a bit rough. Did you get caught up in and he looks like almost like hesitant to say it. Says the unpleasantness out there with the Inquisition fellas.
We did a little. I think drinks would be lovely.
Okay, all right. So he goes to a refrigerated cabinet and pulls out what's clearly one of those bourbon decanters that is full of blood. And he says, sorry, all I have on hand is melancholia. I find it suits me best. Will that be all right for the three of you?
I mean, none for Everett. He's having a rough night, but the rest of us, why not? Well, I mean, I hate to ask you about the provenance of anything, but I'm sort of you know how some people are about organic? I'm sort of about criminals. So your source is...
yeah, the old Ventru game, right? Well, this particular vintage was a fellow that I'd hired at one of my institutions. He was supposed to assist a coroner in helping prepare bodies, but he saw fit to, how should I put this, prepare bodies a different way for his own pleasure. So what can I say? You know, they say...
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll have
great.
a glass.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. You know, they always joke about good help being hard to find. I don't think that's true, but oh man, when you're hiring for morgues, you find some weird fucking people. Anyway, all right, there's for you, and he pours one for Iris, and he doesn't bother bringing out a glass for Everett. He just kind of like nods to you and puts it back. And he says, well, you're probably wondering why I sent my creepy agent to bother you. Hey, listen, did he just arbitrarily declare a time that you were supposed to meet him?
Yeah, he's real strange.
Yeah, he's a spooky dude, but very reliable. I'll tell you that much. And what that guy can do with fire, it'll fuck you right up. But I'm glad he's on my side. Anyway, listen, it's tough out there right now. I understand the Inquisition's a problem for all of us, and I was worried at first that you three might be a problem for me. When you and that crazy French guy from the woods made a mess in one of my morgues, I was a little concerned that you might be moving in on the territory. You might be trying to start some shit. And I was getting real ready to go crack some skulls, as it were. But I understand that maybe I got that wrong. There were some circumstances there that I've been politely told by the prince were at work. There was one of those Batista fellows, I understand, was involved, and there was some ugliness there. So really, I should thank you, because if you hadn't stopped that guy and gotten that corpse out of there before it got up and started walking around biting people, well, the prince might have been after my balls. Ha! And I'm glad he wasn't, because I like my balls, and I'd like to keep them where they are securely, there for his and her pleasure, as it were. So, you guys seem like you might be more valuable to me as friends than foes. So let's raise a glass, or I don't know, a salute to you there, sir.
It's all right, man. We don't need to address it every time someone takes a drink.
Fair enough. All right. Well, here's to new friendships, huh? And he raises a glass.
Yep, Ridley will toast a drink. There's nothing to lose
toast,
here.
yeah.
Great. So you'll take a sip, and it's damn good. Who knew a gross morgue technician was the vintage you needed? And afterwards he says, so all that going to say, I got some plans in the works that shouldn't interfere with anything you're doing, but what you're doing seems like it might be a real boon to my business. So tell you what, I understand you guys are all in a bit of a pinch, might need some housing. How'd you feel about moving into a morgue?
This episode of Blood and Syrup features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Megan Miles at Meggie Miles on Twitter, and Storyteller Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and all of Dum Dums and Dice's logos are by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter. That's MRKR. Our theme songs are What's Really Going On Right Now by Chase Allen Willis and Traffic by Kai Engel, and all our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, that's JAHZZAR. All of their music is available on freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We've also got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon of Darkness at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Sleep well, children of the night. Spooky.
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, Long Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, Charles Grams, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord Abradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Chet Awesome Laser, Jordan Neesmith, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Taryn Hefner, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.